what progress. The word president or vice president are mentioned about 418 times in the Constitution, making it the single most important in the document. On the other hand, the process that will bring in the president election is mentioned only 2 or 7 times, just to these dialogues. There are concerns raised about life pension that some governors have granted themselves. Where is this coming from? Check the Constitution. Any person who has held office as president or vice president shall be entitled to pension for life at a rate equivalent to the annual salary of the incumbent president or vice president. The state view the content of the Constitution as a matter of principle because all laws must be in tandem with the Constitution. Therefore, where abuses appear to be the outcome of the laws passed at the state or local government level, we need to just look at the Constitution and query it. Notwithstanding some of these issues, I strongly believe that the Constitution as we have it today can still produce many good results when faithfully discharged. For example, I'm persuaded that other sections of the country should be given the opportunity to each of 2023. Why not? It is constitutional. The criteria for becoming the president of Nigeria are just 4, as enshrined in section 1.3, which states that a person shall be qualified for election to the office of the president if eligibility for head of state. A, is citizen of Nigeria by birth. He has attained the age of 40 years, minimum age of head of state. He is a member of a political party and is sponsored by that party, and he has been educated up to at least full certificate of equivalence. Okay. If you are from the southeast and south in this auditorium, please stand up. You all meet the criteria to be the president. But let me state that here that I have problem with the age limit set at 40 because whatever the logic behind it, it is difficult to consider it valid in contemporary time. Here are examples from around the world of serving leaders who got to power while under the age of 40. One you have seen, Alessandro, he became the president at the age of 29, president of San Marino Republic. After Novikov, he became president at the age of 33, president of Pakistan. Santa Maria became the president of Sweden at the age of 35. Najib became the president of El Salvador at the age of 37. Aden became the president of Finland at the age of 37. Carlos became the president of Costa Rica at the age of 38. Leo became the president of Ireland at the age of 38. Emmanuel Macron became the president of France at the age of 39. Ratas became the president of Estonia at the age of 34. And the last but not the least, Joseph Muscat became the president of Malta at the age of 39. We must review the constitution to reflect the current reality of the nation and provide greater access to the greatest number of our citizens. Provide first-hand experience of the implementation of the constitutional responsibility expected of me as governor. A large part of the problem that we have identified can be summed up as poor understanding of the role of governance by leadership at one point or another. Fairness is the first principle of democratic survival. Why? What is your relevance if you are not fair to me, or my people, or my region? It's important matters of the state and decisions that affect the collective destiny of the nation. Section 14 of the Constitution Part B says that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. The participation of the people in their government shall be ensured in accordance with the provision of this Constitution. The primary function of the government is to provide security, economic prosperity, and deliver services. Therefore, what can we say about the situation where a doctor was supposed to be on a call in a government hospital and he was never there? Is this a constitutional problem or a character problem? What about economic sabotage of the system? At the state and local government where ghost workers continue to draw scarce resources away from government, from the people who need them, they have an apparent capacity of the government to deliver services. Shall we talk about indiscipline and its impact on the capacity of the government to serve effectively? Even where the institution is very clear and easy to implement, we are faced with the challenge of human factors. How can we govern ourselves effectively if those entrusted with the responsibility of protecting the Constitution are not doing their duty? Consequently, my response to the question of this meeting is that yes, there are pathways to indivisibility and common progress if we will follow the following. One, Nigeria has come to a point where we must collectively agree that we need to do more to demonstrate fairness to every constituent part that makes up this country. It is constitutional right. We need to understand that pedestrian suspicion is not an empirical or legal reason to deny any section from active participation in the leadership. When leadership becomes a ping-pong game, not only we are not complying with the Constitution, but we are fast moving to a point of inevitable tension. Notice that I did not say inevitable something else. Strengthening the administration of justice and speeding up the process of judicial reform. Less space is no space can survive for too long on pure impunity and disregard for the rule of law. Therefore, you learned sitting at grounds how to help the system to uphold the Constitution through effective dispensation of justice and application of the rule of law. The media must step up the game and uphold political office holders accountable. And uphold political office holders accountable by asking tough questions, tough and relevant questions. The Nigerian press need to follow through and keep issues in the public clear all the time. For example, during electioneering, as politicians we make many promises and are either quickly forgotten or not done after the election. This media can keep this in perspective and track the delivery of these promises. Identify the bottlenecks and put all elements into front like media. Engagement is healthy part of functional democracy. Everyone must read the Constitution in Nigeria. I've discovered that those who have never read the Constitution have the greatest contribution and advice to give. How can you critique the document you have never read? This is where constitutional lawyers need to step up the game and bring the document to the basic knowledge of an average man on the street. The citizens must feel the impact of the government through effective service delivery across the length and breadth of the country. Nigeria must make progress when we collectively agree that corruption hurts and that indiscipline cannot just be explained anyway on the altar of legitimacy. In the end, we will continue to learn and adapt the Constitution in ways that respond to the yearnings and aspirations of the people. There are sectors of the country, of the Nigerian economy, that need critical review with the way recruitment processes are done, how the system is managed, and deal with the rise of marginalization. Marginalization has become one of the loudest concerns that is coming from the public. Therefore, we must, as a matter of necessity, create an environment to take in use listen to our people and respond in a logical, sensible, and useful ways. People must feel the impact of the government. People must see that government is responding. The process of confidence building must be pursued and inclusive structures developed to bring the views of every section of the country into recognition, the review of the aspect of the Constitution, and we have heard concerns about. discussion without drawing the attention of this current gathering to some basic facts of life. To our friends and brothers in the South and Southeast particularly, please know that only God grants power with humans. You have to negotiate power. Negotiation becomes easier when you make friends across the divide. In the negotiation of power, we don't always win everything we want, but we will normally get everything very close to covering everything we need. I say this because I have had many disappointing discussions as they don't want to give us power. Assumptions and conjunctions will neither win your friends nor opportunities. We must all remember that God gives power, who must negotiate it, and every interested party must be prepared to negotiate. Ladies and gentlemen, I will conclude by saying that we must make the Constitution of Nigeria work for all Nigerians and not just for some Nigerians. Our system of government must be helpful to the sections of the country and give people a voice while delivering services including the security of life and property that was endangered from. The governance will be a religion. The Constitution will be its holy book. You know your Bible, you know your Quran, you know your Constitution. Gani Fawehinmi fought till the end for a people's constitution. We cannot let him down. Let us work to build bridges, draft a people-oriented constitution, and make Nigeria better for everyone. Thank you very much.
We also want to appreciate the members of the ESCO of the MDA Branch Office, Mr. Deloitte Shobier, the Vice President. We also want to appreciate recognize and appreciate the presence of the Treasurer of the branch, Mr. Basil Ogunabi. It explains the allergic legal advisor of the branch. Ms. Adela Ademilola, the Financial Secretary of the branch, and Mrs. Kamokake from Motusi, the provost of the branch. We recognize and appreciate your presence there. We also appreciate the presence of Mr. Sheyi Olawumi, the First Secretary of the branch. I want to welcome to the podium the Secretary of the branch, Mr. Fawehinmi Abijo, for the quick presentation of the compendium of Gani Fawehinmi lecture series.
Thank you very much. The chairman of our great friend, Honorable CJ, and the Honorable Chief Judge of Lagos State, ably represented by one of the best justice, Honorable Ifa. My duty is simply to quickly make a book presentation, but I should think that the best way to do this is like my branch chairman to please step forward as we appreciate our resource person, the speaker, of Borno State, and our own senior lawyer here, Let me just quickly mention that the essence of this is to express appreciation, not only for the time, but of course for the resourceful delivery lecture that we have all been fed with today. We really appreciate it. Secondly, so that my chairman would not miss that, as a branch of the MBA, we do as much as possible not to go affected in implementing a lot of our programs, one of which is this very lovely woman and all. So for that reason, even though, as I said, this is a form of deep appreciation, we will encourage some sort of purchases, from our resource investment. That's the way of getting our engine on. So the chairman is going to lead me in this presentation to our resource person. The compendium contains 10 years of our lecture series in respect of this particular event. And going forward, when we produce the next one, this particular one that we have had to have effect, by both the professor and the student and the other will be contained. So I'm sure it's very, very resourceful document. Yeah, my chairman, it's done. Thank you.
May I call upon may I stand first on the listing protocol in moving ahead? I will call upon my Chief John Neamodo. The books I have in my hand there represent 10 years from 2005 to 2014 of this program, which puts together richly delivered lecture of what Gani stands. And these are all give a set of
Chairman, this book will be very valuable in my library, and I'm sure that maybe more distinguished speakers have their thoughts recorded in it. You have started very wrongly by asking me to be the first person to launch this. I'm endowed with a number of things, but one of them is not money. Thank you very much. All right, he says that I can buy for others if I want to. I'm sure that many of you here know my big one. It was the justice for the Court of Appeal before she was transferred to Abuja, from where she died 7.5 years ago. We have full rest. Fortunately, our children, none of them have taken to law, but I do hope that one of them at the second degree will probably go into law. So this will be useful in our family library. But I have one of them who would want to stay. And we will make a token purchase with the sum of 250,000.
I must convey our sincere appreciation for that token. Like I said
at the point of presentation, it's not even the price. The set we have is a compendium of an infallible wealth of knowledge put together. If you've been involved in Gani Fawehinmi annual lecture in the last 10 years, you find out that putting this component together is a great asset. If you go to the speakers who have graced this occasion in the last 10 years, particularly in video, you will find that not only are they great speakers, but they also touched on very, very touchy national issues. I think it was my privilege to present the necessary to the Deputy Governor of our state and the person of Rosazo.
That is not a great chance. The war is started, but however, on behalf of the governor of Oron State, is procuring 30 copies of this book at the total cost of 10 million.
Not just a set of books, but the content is one that you really appreciate because it borders more on national issues. I will give the mic, I had to pull over to my able secretary.
Thank you, the chairman. Thank you. Let me just quickly, without wasting our time, quickly invite to the podium the representative of the Honorable Chief Judge. Honorable Judge, please allow me so that I can. This is our token of appreciation because the judiciary. We appreciate very much the presence, time, and kind form of the goodwill.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this. I accept this office on behalf of the Chief Judge of Lagos State, Honorable Justice Gani Fawehinmi. And as I said earlier, we're the judiciary, we're not politicians, and we're certainly not rich men. But I know that my Chief Judge has always wanted this, and he will certainly do so as well upon receipt of this office. So I'm accepting this on his behalf, and he will do the needful at the opportunity. Thank you very much. Sorry, before I sit down, Your Excellency, let me publicly introduce myself. Ordinarily, I can't leave since you are here today as governor of the state, but I must please ask for your permission to let me protocol. I have witnesses from out of state waiting for me in my court, and I need promise that I will be there on them. So I think already I'm short past time because it's taking some time to get out. So I must excuse myself. Thank you, participants. I'm off.
Thank you very much. Now, continue with the program. Ladies and gentlemen, you agree with me that the lectures have been very incisive, very historical, and very informative. And I know that during the lectures we have a lot of questions, comments, agitating our mind. So right now we want to take comments, responses, questions. Well, we want to begin with Chief Ginka Utumaki. I need you to pass the microphone to you.
Okay. I must commend the two lectures given by Jimodo, Governor. Although I have a little issue with consistency, where you say that you are against state police. I think that's a contentious issue for. Say that you have a governor who is the chief executive of the state who can have the police. Know what you have experienced. Even for supposed security forces. And you now say that as a government you are opposed to states having their security forces. Yes, they are going to abuse. But what do you raise abuses? That's what we need. Even the federal police is being abused and abuse force. So I don't think that not having a state police is the solution to abuse. It's not to have abuses of either federal police or state police. That's what we need. But we cannot say that we want to have state executive governors who can have police. Because we need the police to enforce. If you are making laws as well as governors, you need to have the capacity to enforce those laws. Thank you.
Thank you very much. To save our time, can we take 2 more questions? We go for more questions for the governor. Okay. 1, 2, 3. This is one person. 4. Okay. In that order. So, members of the media, kindly know that there are no private session with our speakers. You are free to ask your questions here and now. Thank you very much. The first.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me stand on the already established protocol. We've been very educated morning on the aspect of the Nigerian constitution and how or what is expected for us to remain a peaceful, progressive state. In fact, I just want to make a position on the statement as posed by our elder statesman. In fact, I've heard so much of our elder statesman and of his very respected position. But a statement such like this, and for this particular lecture, the secularity of the Nigerian state must be respected. These irreducible minimum conditions are not negotiable. If it does not happen, we will have no alternative but to go our separate ways. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in any national polity, there are challenges, and we have to contain these challenges. We have to struggle, and I'm very happy the chairman of the NPSA, any thinking that we can fare better while we are away is not positive. And I also position that Nigeria as a country is greater as we stand together than in the past. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Let's hear from Gani Fawehinmi, the Deputy Director of Enough is Enough, one of the discussants. You can hear you.
Thank you very much. I will give you, but I'd like to start that Mr. Ahmad will share two things with me. My father is also an alumni of the University, and I am an alumni of that was what the group said at the time. What grants power, humans negotiate power, and I think that statement in itself is quite profound. Now, as you said, the Constitution in and of itself, despite its many challenges and its history, which is all over the place, clearly broke down and work, but it needs to be driven by a people, a political elite vision. And I think for me, that's what we have missed. So despite the flaws of the Constitution, it can deliver development, it can deliver equity, it can deliver justice. I believe so. But I still do agree that there are issues with the Constitution, but I think in the hands of the people who aim to serve and aim to deliver, we can get that. But what we've seen over is that the flaws in the Constitution have been used to divide, to exploit, and to manipulate. Excuse me. Thus, the request that the Constitution needs to be rewritten by the people so that we have a state of the voice. I think it's very instructive when Professor Zulu talks about the way you know your Bible and the way you know your Quran is also the way that you should know your Constitution. But it doesn't show up in the curriculum of any school anywhere in the country. We don't teach it at the primary school level. We don't teach it at the secondary school level. We don't teach it in university unless you are a lawyer. Oh, pardon me, but on the document. My organization, Enough is Enough Nigeria, about 6 years ago, started a campaign called the Office of the Citizen. And our call was very clear. The office of the citizen is the highest office in Nigeria, higher than the president, higher than any other public official, for the simple reason that it's citizens that elect. So anybody that has public trust in office is elected to serve us. So Governor Zulum works for me or works for the people of Bono. President Buhari works for all of Nigeria. He is our employee because citizens voted him. But the power dynamic and the lack of understanding of that document, i.e. our constitution, makes Muslims of them when they should be skewed in favor of the citizens who put them in office. We've seen, for example, what has happened in the United States in the last couple of years. And it's to reinforce to us that democracy as a system of government is not a finished work, it's a work in progress. It speaks to the fragility of democracy and also speaks to the fact that it doesn't matter if your democracy is 20 years like ours or 200 years like the United States. You need good people in office, you need good people in society, citizens who share common values and are willing to wake up and fight for those values every single day. And that's what we've seen in the turnaround of the elections in the US. Because people went out and mobilized people. Despite that, 70+ million people still voted for President Trump because he did that. But others thought that, no, this was not President America. And President Trump has now been forced to denounce Now, I think the Constitution will never cover everything. Again, if you look at the United States, they've had a few amendments, and there are 20 or so amendments to the Constitution. But the rest of the workings of the law is then delivered by the judiciary, which is why this being done by the NBA is extremely important. Because then Supreme Court judgments then enable us to modify, to clarify, and to set down precedents that then become law. And it's not included in the Constitution, but it's then how society is governed. And if you take that to Nigeria, because there's no mention of some of the elections that were put out and decided by the judiciary. Again, there's a joke now that it's the judiciary that determines our election, it's not the electorate, for the simple reason of the examples that Professor Zulum has given. And it's unfortunate as well because we've allowed that to happen in the process that we've designed. Why is it that a pre-election matter is decided a day before the inauguration? We should, what if the issue with the deputy governor, whoever, all of that should have been sorted out before they went to. So now, I don't have a case, an election case, an appeal case, and then a Supreme Court decision to make the motive. Lastly, a couple of points I just wanted to highlight in terms of what you asked for this constitution. Our strength as a united country is also a weakness, because the truth of why we're calling for a review of the constitution is because Nigerians don't feel that I, as a Yoruba, have equal rights outside of that equal in Nigeria. That's part of the conversation. Or that as an Igbo man also, I have equal rights to the country or the resources of the country as held up that is and so it is this deep sense of injustice that makes people begin to look for what is it that is making equalness less of a nation. Why are other Nigerians supposedly more important or get more than the rest of us? And I'll use two examples in the context of COVID. The COVID vaccine breakout was just shared, and was shared again by our federal character. And it makes no sense, I'm sorry. Kogi claims they don't have a case of COVID, so why are they getting vaccinated? Katsina has the most number of vaccines just by virtue of their population, and Lagos has had the most instances of COVID. So why are they getting more vaccines? Well, because we're doing federal character. I'm sorry, that makes no sense. The same thing with oxygen. We say we're building oxygen plants in every state of the federation. Can we please get 3 of them to work so people stop dying? Why this need to give every state? We're not equal by any stretch of the imagination at all. Now, so until we're clear about these things, and these are the things that when people talk about the lack of equality in Nigeria that builds such pain, Lagos and Bayelsa are not mates. 22 million voters versus half a million voters, we're not mates. Talk about IGR, we're not mates. So the need to then equally distribute resources does not make any sense. So we must look at how do we leverage. I mean, over a period of 2 years, a lot of states were doing Nigeria beyond oil, Nigeria beyond oil. States must have the ability to determine their own progress. Let them march at their own rate. Look, universities have been closed for a year. Someone would have talked about the UI and the benefits of that. My father talked about it a lot. There's no public university in Nigeria today that can do online learning. No tertiary public university. What is that as a country? We're not talking about. Our academic staff unions are on strike. But if a state decided they want to take over control of the public universities and do it the way they want, a party like them will follow like them. But let Lagos do what they want. Let NGO do what they want. And so if I did it for me, and I realized that Lagos will offer me better opportunity, and let me carry my bag and move to work. Let Lagos determine, okay, you're coming, this is what we do here, we register, we bring that, welcome to Lagos. So I think those are the issues, and I really would just like to end with that. If Nigerians felt and one of them is state police. Mr. Zumaki brought up the point about state police and Professor Sulum. I mean, in a sense, I kind of agree with Professor Sulum. I think what I hear Professor Sulum saying is that an immediate switch to Sulum, but I don't think he said he was opposed to the idea of a transition. We have a federal police that's not functional. We were caught up in NSAS for 3 weeks, and the response to that has shown that the federal government was not interested in solving that problem. But if we as a country find that we want states to be able to self-determine their rate, I mean, Kano is getting back on alcohol, but it is destroying people drinking alcohol, people selling alcohol. How does that make any sense? So again, it is not about divisibility or let Nigeria scatter, but it is ensuring that Nigerians are engaging on terms that speak to equity and justice, and we must agree on what those terms mean. What does it mean for me as a Yoruba girl from those states living in Lagos to be a Nigerian, knowing fully well that whatever it is that Nigeria has for me, somebody in Taraba State also has equal access to that, not because they are Jukun and I'm Yoruba or because their governor is an ABC governor and my governor is Jukun. Thank you very much.
Everyone, the National President of Advocacy in from the angle of Professor Sulum's I want to raise it. We had national compact in 2014. The implementation is still going to These are one of those things that were very shortly discussed by the best of the best in Nigeria. Two, I think we have to do it at the honor to additional plan. Who wants to be radical line along with the constitution to identify the power that be in Lagos over the oppression of the majority with respect to land itself? I think the use of media as a setup is a point to note. The media has been doing it before, and we are also aware of the contribution of the and other nations by the government. I'm talking about character problems. The government can solve character problems if they mind what people watch on TV and what they hear on TV. This is what they do in India, they do in China. That they don't just post anything gathering to poison and corrupt people's character. So all that is government and independent government. Finally, sir, I want to say that probably because the problem we are having with the political system in respect of function is that we have larger illiterate or uneducated or informed chunk of votes, and we have very small quality votes.
So if we are going to go, that's the problem. If we are going to go by what will help us, probably if the legislators can go by way of it's the electoral college, by what they do in the US and other countries, where people will vote for their representatives in their ward, who will then vote to elect the governor, to reduce the mass mobilization of people voting who don't even know what they are voting, creating problem by shooting out the worst of all as
My name is Matthias Amiribi. And my question is to the Executive Governor of the Police State, in the course of the presentation, you were very categorical in saying that state police is not right now. Not that you said you don't want it, but now. Now, in the face of this very serious challenging security situation we have in the country today, what do you suggest? And to that extent, as a follow-up, we have the Amoteco, we have the ISPA, and we have the civilian joint task force. Now, how do you relate this to the current security challenges that we have in our country today? That's one. Two, I have, you challenged us, particularly the lawyers here, concerning the issue of not knowing our constitution the way we know our Bible. But to the extent of what we know, the little that we know, taking for instance section 254, which deals with the issue of advice before you appoint the chairman of INEC. But we now saw before the entire world, there was nothing of such that was done, and today it has been confined. But that is a constitutional directive which was not followed. So I wonder how, or rather, my position, the question I want to ask is that in the face of such, and as an executive officer, because part of the oath of office is to defend the Constitution. So how will the governor, who is an executive governor of the particular state, now advise the federal to follow what the Constitution says? Because back from the individual is older and clear that it appears that mind is right in the face of the federal decision. So lastly,
Chairman of the Young Players for Kenya. My question is directed to Governor Zulu. I saw you talk about merit and the merit of the Constitution. But as a governor of the state, specifically in relation to Section 215 of the Constitution and Section 218, has there been any instance that you have been challenged or your wish as a governor has been reduced by the virtue of this dysfunctional constitution in Nigeria? If there is any, please, because I've seen you on TV lament about the deployment of the Nigerian army and how you could not actually control over them. You have not told us what this constitution has done as a harm to you as a sitting governor in Nigeria. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. For the excellent governor of Borno State, sir, in your delivery on the seminar, sir, you mentioned the qualification of the people that can be elected at the head of state with the constitution, sir. There you mentioned that there was no area there that have been mentioned that
so place, internationally you are saying so place that the head of state must come from, that only the qualification, the age, the Western education qualification, I mean, not because in the independence, we have seen it. The northern we say Indian tongue, the western of the Indian tongue, the southeast, the eastern, they say Indian tongue. And we have been following it. Does it mean the government that this thing has not been in the constitution? It is now know that it is not the constitution that the president will come from the state. This is my question, sir.
Very last question.
My name is Abdulabi. Mr. Governor, I happen to one of the first versions of our posted to the state, and as we are preparing to start the global state was created then. So, nothing of nothing, and it was posted to the national casual and department minister and the election. I was the lecturer in the College of Education, Council in the state. And one of my subjects, and that was actually on women. And from my practical class, here our common was and every morning, you know, I said that no matter the constitution, you can put Quran or Bible, constitution, we still the practical, every morning I will notice that around our little sheet there, very clear. I will hear them reciting, and they were lodged at the cruise and training of our Papa Lodge. I was so moved that if little sheet 5 years, 6 years could be reciting Quran in memory that these kind of children supposed to be brilliant in school, but they were not in school. And the second day, when I enter my lecture room, CCC education, I have to introduce, out of the curriculum, I have to introduce the issue of animal concept. And in that class, and my class was a very big class consisting of up to 300 students. They were saying, Madam, don't go to that line, no, you will not report you. I said, what? Okay, they said it's Islamic. If animal concept is Islamic, where is it? I brought out the Quran. They can't show me where animal is. So we are going to defend. Why you have full problem of Boko Haram in Borno State, and we are also having spillover of banditry in other states, and we are also noticing it people are only us here, is that leaders in governance have constituted themselves into looters of commonwealth that are supposed to have been used for those children to get proper education that they can not to want them to have. So how far is that going? How far have you people have been going on the issue of animal? It is not a concept acceptable to the Quran. It is not a concept acceptable to the Bible. It is not a concept acceptable to... Thank you, sir.
The human rights activist for excellence. Former secretary of the branch and the former national welfare officer, one of them.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Gani Fawehinmi.
My sincere apologies for my lateness. I imagine I've missed a huge chunk of this discussion. But of course, all protocols observed. Good afternoon, everybody. Personally, what I would like to say, because this is of course organized by the NBA, I want to urge lawyers. I think a huge responsibility in everything that we're discussing here, in the constitution, whatever issues that we have with it, in Nigeria as a democracy, I think a huge responsibility rests on lawyers and the NBA in general. I'll tell you why. In any democracy, for any democracy to function, separation of powers is important. The executive, the judiciary, and the legislature. All these arms of government must operate independent of each other. But at the same time, is what we have, is what we call checks and balances, because it's important for them to also check each other. I'll tell you something today. If I'm seeking legal redress in court, I know what I go through. I know what the judicial procedure is. It's tedious. It's unnecessarily long. I mean, no doubt there will always be lawyers that, for lack of a better term to use, lawyers that will come to court and act irresponsible. They will just come and seek adjournment and rely on the technicality so that they can delay the process of obtaining justice. But because the judicial system allows that, we almost never get justice. Look at what happened with the NSAS matter. Coincidentally, today is the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. As a young man, as a young Nigerian man, what do I remember my armed forces for? What do you think I remember my armed forces for? For coming to the Lekki target to shoot directly at peaceful protesters. It's disturbing to think about. Grossly unacceptable. But where does redress lie? In the judiciary. And panels now are ongoing. Some states have not set up their own panel. We are hearing stories here, stories there. They're taking it. Justice delayed is justice denied. And that's why I said a big responsibility in this entire thing and the solution to this lies with lawyers, because we have to aggressively defend our democracy. It's very important. We have to aggressively defend it. Wherever there needs to be changes within the judicial procedure, wherever we need to make those changes, let's aggressively push for those. It's very important. The judiciary plays a huge role in this. I think one of the biggest issues that we have as a people, and I'll just end by this, because it is very important. One of the biggest issues we have as a people is that we do not have genuine love for ourselves. And until we start to know who we are and love who we are, then it's almost impossible for us to move forward. Look at where we are as a continent now. Look at where the rest of the world is. We are fighting to stay alive. Meanwhile, the rest of the world, they've moved on, they're inventing. They're talking about how to go to the moon, how to go to space. Us, we are still struggling. Our democracy is still not intact. We are fighting to stay alive. Look at how far behind we are.